Hello, today I'll be going over lessons 1.3 and 1.4. Let's get right into it. So for 1.3, this is properties of matter. There are two main types of properties of matter, the first being physical properties, which can be observed without changing the identity or composition of the substance. These can be things like color or density. The second is the chemical properties, which describe the way a substance may change or react to form other substances. These can be things like flammability, pH, or radioactiveness. Now, looking at different types of physical properties, there are intensive physical properties, which do not depend on the amount of a sample being examined and are particularly useful in chemistry because they can be used to identify different substances. These can be things like melting point, boiling point, specific heat, and various things like that, or enthalpy of formation. And then there's extensive properties, which relate to the amount of substance present, which can be volume, mass, and similar things. Now, looking at physical and chemical changes. Physical changes are a substance changes its physical appearance, but not its composition. These are most often phase changes, like changing from a gas to a liquid or something similar to that. Now, there are chemical changes, also called chemical reactions, where a substance is transformed into a chemically different substance. This can be like baking a cake, or an oxidation reaction, or really any chemical reaction. Now, an important thing to take away from this section is using these various properties, especially the intensive physical properties and chemical properties, we can separate mixtures into their components by analyzing the various properties of a substance. And this is how you determine almost the difference between almost anything in chemistry. Now moving on to 1.4. Here are some common definitions that are closely related, but there are some key differences. So the first being energy, which is defined as the capacity to do work or to transfer heat. The second is work, which is the energy transferred when a force exerted on an object causes a displacement of that object. And the final one is heat, which is energy used to cause the temperature of an object to increase. Now, a common equation that goes with this, and one that's important to remember, is W equals F times D. So W stands for work, and F stands for force, and the D is for distance. So, which means that work is a force applied over a specific distance. Now moving on to the types of energy, the first being kinetic, which is the energy of motion. And that can be defined by this equation here, so the kinetic energy, which is most often in joules, equals 1/2 times the mass times the velocity squared. So in order to find kinetic energy, you need both the mass and the velocity of an object or particle or something similar. And now potential energy is the stored energy that arises from the attractions and repulsions an object experiences in relation to other objects. So potential energy is stored in different chemical bonds and just like bonds everywhere. But there's potential energy everywhere in life, as well as kinetic energy, but it's important to know the difference between the two. Thank you. Hopefully this video helped at all. If you're still having trouble with AP Chem, I am very sorry and hope the rest of your semester goes well.